Hi, Wendy. Welcome to the Crash Cinnamon episodes and podcasts. Thank you for agreeing to be a guest on this show. So, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you for inviting me as well.
Great. Okay, so if I'd say, who's Wendy? How would you describe yourself? What would you say Wendy is?
Wendy's busy, in a nutshell.
That's great. That's great. That's very true. From all I've seen you've been doing, yeah, you are really busy. So, what are you busy doing?
Well, I'm not so busy now as I was sort of back in the summer, because I just finished my degree in kind of June time.
Yay.
But I run a business, which is a children's nursery. I also run a charity, which is very busy. And I am a single parent to a son who has also just started university. So I can give him some Wendy's words of wisdom in that direction.
That's amazing. There's some rustling sound on your end. I don't know if it's earphones or paper. I'm not sure.
I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe
hopefully it'll all be clear after we edit it. So yeah, what was your degree in? And congratulations so much for the achievement. That achieving a degree and finishing it during the pandemic, I'm sure it wasn't easy.
No, it was a bit strange at the end. I mean, obviously, like quite a long time ago, I did my qualifications for my job. And that was up to level 7. I did a bit of a strange set of qualifications, which were partly Bachelor of Arts modules and partly Master of Education modules, which went on to form an advanced diploma, and that was to do with child development.
Wow.
And the degree that I've just finished is a Bachelor of Science degree in Animal Behaviour and Welfare. So kind of a little bit similar in some respects, and quite a bit different in some other respects. Yeah.
Wow.
So,
yeah, it's in one sense you learn about human beings' well-being and welfare and behavior, and then switching to animals and their welfare and their behavior. So you have a world perspective. Is it?
yeah. I mean, a lot of the sort of the theorists for child development are, used animals to develop those theories, so they come into animal behaviour as well. Yeah.
Okay, so for example, like give us one theory that is across both sides.
Have you heard of Pavlov's dog?
Very long time ago, and I wouldn't even be able.
Yeah, they're all quite old sort of theories based on triggering behaviours and things like that, and they used animals to develop the theory that was then linked to human behaviour. But obviously, because they've used animals, and it's quite poignantly linked to animal behaviour. So
that's true.
Yeah, they all came into it. Interesting.
Oh, very interesting, actually. I never actually knew that. Like, it's a discipline that crosses to the other side. That's really cool. So what's your charity about?
So my charity, excuse me, it's called Homeward Bound. And it's kind of a multifaceted service. We only serve the sort of Fylde Coast area, which is Blackpool, Fylde and Wyre boroughs. And in a nutshell, we help owners of missing pets. So it's kind of almost a combination between a dog warden service and the RSPCA, because we go out to injured animals as well, and sometimes that involves wildlife.
Oh, wow.
So we go out to found dogs and cats, both alive and deceased, and scan them for a microchip to try and find the owners. We produce posters for people with missing pets. We also do searching and tracking for lost and bolted dogs, and these are dogs that are usually missing over a series of days or weeks.
Oh, wow.
And we have recently started a trap neuter return programme for unowned cats. So they include stray cats that we can't find an owner for, or feral cats. So we catch them or trap them, usually treat them because they've usually got injuries because they've been living rough for ages, entire males quite often, and they fight and they get abscesses and things like that. So we treat them at the vets, neuter them, microchip them. We also test them for FIV and FELV, which is sort of like a cat version of human AIDS.
Okay.
And then either find them homes or return them to where they came from. So sometimes we'll have a farm that have got a colony of feral cats that they don't want to keep reproducing, but they want to keep the cats because they keep the pest levels down. Or we find a feral home such as the stables or a farm where we know that they're going to be fed and watered and have some shelter and looked after. It's good.
Yeah, that is quite a lot. I mean, it's literally you're running, I don't even know what to call it. It's just a lot. Yes.
Yeah.
A lot. Because when you think about even just finding lost pets alone, it's a job that can take months and even weeks. So add on to if they are found, go to the vets, treat them, take them back. I think what I've learned from that, I didn't know that cats, or rather, could have a human version of what you said, AIDS. Yeah, did you say that?
Yeah, FIV.
I didn't know that. Oh wow. Okay. I actually thought that would. Okay. I need to do my research more. I honestly didn't know all these things existed. That's why I find your passion and line of work very fascinating, because we know very limited information, I've come to realize, about the animals we live with, whether you own a pet or just by the virtue we are sharing earth with all these animals, but we really know very little about them. I don't know what animals think of us, but I think they know much more than us because they're very good at observation.
Well, it's really strange you should say that, because, and just going back to the FIV thing, because it's a bit of a contentious subject, and quite a few rescues will have cats put to sleep if they're found to be positive, if they test positive.
Oh, wow.
If they're healthy, there's absolutely no need to do that. They can live, a normal life. They are obviously infectious to other cats if they get in fights and things, but if they're neutered, that shouldn't really occur, and it's a much misunderstood disease within cats, really. And we have had FIV. Sorry.
Just like human beings, the way people
must. Yes, of course. Yeah. It's not a death sentence.
Yeah.
At all. I suppose the if they're showing clinical symptoms, particularly with the leukemia strain, they aren't going to get better. So it's about quality of life that you've got to assess in those circumstances. But, but sort of going back to the kind of behavioural patterns we see with a lot of the stray cats, obviously they've been living rough for quite a long time. They've had very little human contact for quite a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And we usually keep them in foster for a
Yeah.
while until the personalities come out. We can assess them and match them to homes.
Okay.
And honestly, these cats that have lived this kind of life are just so grateful. I mean, I've got 2 such cats myself, and they're just
Mm-hmm.
amazingly loyal. They
Oh, wow.
make fantastic pets. They
Yeah,
really
because
do.
after living such a rough life.
Yeah.
What made you want to start this charity? What pushed you to do it?
Well, it sort of came about through, I also run a cockapoo club,
Mm-hmm.
and I've got 3 cockapoos of my own.
Yeah.
And through the club, we normally raise money for a charity, and we
Mm-hmm.
like to pick a fairly new charity that, whatever money we raise is going to make a difference to that charity, rather than a great big charity that's got loads of
That's
funding
true.
anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So we picked this particular charity. This is going back about 6 or 7 years ago now.
Mm-hmm.
That did a similar service, but across different towns throughout the UK.
Mm-hmm.
And I ended up volunteering for that organisation.
Mm-hmm.
And it was this area. It's just the busiest area for stray pets, for stray cats,
Mm-hmm.
lost dogs, lost cats. It could be a full-time job.
Yeah, definitely.
And sort of through starting that up on my own, and I did it on my own for almost a year.
Wow.
And then I started Homeward Bound, and we have about 18 volunteers now.
Wow. That is
Yeah, yeah,
amazing. I didn't
yeah,
even know that it was growing that much. Wow.
yeah. Well,
Wow.
the figures keep going up and up.
Mhm.
But last year we physically went out to about 500 pets. So,
Wow.
it's
500.
yeah, it's over one a day, over 1 call out a day. Yeah.
And so how did you, in the formative years of the charity, what motivated you? How did you even have the time, even the finances? Because I can imagine it's quite expensive, even if you want to do it with your own car and your resources. How do you keep going? For example, for listeners who may want to do such a thing, how would you advise them, or what would you say to them?
Well, I mean, we've developed quite a name for ourselves in the local area, and we've got a Facebook group with 15,000 followers, and those people are people who support the work that we do, and they donate to us. Obviously our biggest expenditure is vet bills. And if we've got a particular case that is going to take up a lot of our funds, we just ask, and people donate to things like that. We had a cat quite recently that we found just sitting at a tram stop, and we fully expected that the cat would sort of get up and run away when we went near it, and it didn't, and it was unable to stand, and it became sort of immediately apparent that this cat was quite seriously ill. So we took the cat to the vets. It was out of hours, so that's £150 before you start with anything. And the cat ended up being in the vets for 13 days.
Oh my!
And it had been poisoned. And we thought, well, we'll just try this, and we'll just try that. And so many times throughout those 13 days, I thought I'm going to have to make the decision to euthanize the cat, because it didn't appear to be getting better. We just tried one more thing, and there was some signs of improvement. And we spent well over £1,000 on one cat.
Oh wow!
And he will always have liver damage and will need long life medication, for the rest of his days. And we found him the most fantastic home with an ex-vet nurse, and she took him on, and he is the most wonderful pet for her, and he's living such a fantastic life. And it's things like that make it all so worthwhile, really.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I think when you find pets, cats, dogs who have been poisoned, it makes you think what kind of human beings we are actually living with. What would drive another person to do that too? But we know, it's actually makes me shudder. If you can do that to an animal, I don't know what kind of heart you have,
Well, I've dealt with just this week. Dealt with some people who I can only describe as quite sick. And my kind of response to, when people say, what goes through their minds, and it is that if you were to understand what motivates them to do that, if you were to understand what goes through their minds, then that would probably make you the same sort of person that they are. So the fact that we don't understand
that way, actually,
the fact that we don't understand is probably good news, isn't it?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. That's very true. Oh my. And I think the kind of work you do, people think it's so normal. I don't know how I can explain it so I can come across more clear. I think people forget how delicate also animals are, and just the same way human beings, our bodies, if we have a cold today, it can change. Look at how the pandemic has changed the lives of people now. So our animals also too need the care and the support. And I remember, because growing up in Kenya, animals really for us, not many think of them as pets. Some are for security, some are for, for games. Not many people would spend money to groom their pet. Or
especially cats.
Yeah, like cats. They're like
Paka.
Paka. They fend for themselves. Why do you? And I think a lot of mentality has had to change in Kenya. I think now a lot of things have changed. You can see from when I was a child, a toddler, to now as an adult, I can see a lot more people even having, cat parties and stuff like that. It's okay now. Before, people would think of you as if you're crazy. Why would you spend like £1,000 to take a cat to a vet?
They would think you were mad, weren't they?
Yeah. So, and that was the mentality then, and thankfully that has really changed a lot, because I remember I used to own a dog, and I got it from the RSPC, and it was really well taken care of, and they would call up and check up on me until I was settled with my dog. And I remember even they said, when time comes and your dog has lived out his days or whatever, don't call us and we'll do the necessary. We'll take care of her and make sure she's she ends her life well. And I think that's where it triggered in my mind. I said, had many people seen an RSPC, or had the mentality changed, a lot more animals would be safer in this world. I think. Say that, have you met people during the time you started this charity that their mentality about animals and you taking care of them is just warped, in the sense that they think, why would you spend that kind of money on an animal? You can spend that money on yourself, go on holiday or something. Have you met people like that in
your people? Some people they don't they don't understand how important pets are to people. And for some people, particularly elderly people, that pet is like their only companion, and that pet means the world to them. And if you haven't got that kind of empathy, or you don't get that, you don't get it really. And it's usually people that haven't had pets, haven't had any animals, that don't sort of see the benefits to them. That's kind of a rare point of view, though. Thankfully.
That's good.
And I mean, obviously, the majority of the people that we come across sort of understand that, they're part of the family. They're a family member. And when I did about sort of pet bereavement at uni, the process of grieving for a pet is exactly the same as the process for grieving for another member of the family, a human member of the family. It just is a shorter time span, and sometimes it's not. Sometimes I know people that are still grieving for a pet that they've lost years and years later. And
that's true.
And that's something that we want to extend. Although I did some of it at uni, I want to do a specialised course for pet bereavement support, because it's I often have to phone people up and be the first point of call to tell them that we've found their, usually a cat, we've found their cat deceased. And there's a whole range of reactions,
emotions.
Yeah.
That's really good, actually. I think what you're doing is amazing, and how you're expanding every day. And it's true when you said about bereavement, because my dog died more than 25 years ago, and I cannot still get past it. Like, I've tried to get another pet, it does not work. I don't know. And then I said, I think it's okay. Maybe I was supposed to have that one specific bond with that animal, and that's it. It's funny, and I really don't talk about it a lot, because I don't want people to think I'm just over sensationalizing the situation. But
it's the real loss. It's a loss, isn't it?
Because she was just, she was just amazing. I sometimes I used to think she could read my thoughts.
She was very intuitive.
Very unique dog, and it's sad how it had to die. But I'm grateful that there are people like you out there who are thinking beyond what we know. And no one would. I don't even know many people actually who offer that service, so that would be great. That would be really wonderful.
Yeah, there are actually pet bereavement counsellors out there.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay. Wow. I'm learning so much through the discussion with you, and I'm sure our listeners will benefit a lot, because I don't know. I think sometimes, like you said, when we go through losing a pet, or whether it's through death or they get lost or whatever, it takes a while, and you might not know it's what affecting you in your day-to-day life. So it's good that there are actually counsellors out there.
I think what's worse for people, which is part of why we offer the service that we do, the people that have got pets that are missing, and they never find them, and they have no closure. And that's worse than
when you see
in the long term. That's worse than them knowing that pet's passed away. Because to a certain extent, when you know that your pet's passed away, you can sort of move forward in whatever way you want to move forward. and incidentally, sort of going back to you saying, you weren't going to get another dog because of the pain of losing your other dog. People react quite differently, and for some people, getting another pet straight away it is the way that they can deal with it, and for some people, it takes them a long time before they even think about that, and there's no right or wrong way to cope with that in people's lives.
So and when you return the pets back to the respective owners and things like that, have you ever found a situation whereby you want to keep that pet? You're like, no, maybe I should keep it, or should we, because you fall in love with them, or you find a character trait that probably they didn't know, like the way you said, the cat you found, and he had, I can't remember if it's a boy or girl, be in a vet for 13 days, and now you found a very perfect home. I'd find it very difficult to let go of such a cat. I'd be like, this is my special baby. As you're really attached to, and you find it really hard to, as an adult, really, anyway. I don't know. I would, maybe it's my imagination, but I would find it very difficult to let go sometimes of the ones who really survived and pushed through.
That has happened. Okay. I've got a cat that happened with, and I've had him a few years now, but he was a stray that I'd actually gone out to him 3 times and he was never there. And he was being looked after and fed by people that owned some shops nearby where he was straying. And he was actually living in between the slats of a wooden pallet.
Wow.
And it was around about this time of year, a few years ago, and it was horrible weather, sort of hailstones, sleet, rain, wind, and this poor cat was sort of sheltering between 2 wooden slats of a pallet. And he was an entire male, and he'd been abandoned by some people who had been evicted or moonlighted from a rented flat. And the cat had just been left, and I took him to the vets to get him neutered, without sort of thinking what I was going to do with him. And this was kind of like when I first started out, and it was either another cat rescue. It was another cat rescue that had taken another cat off me that day and said, "Oh, go back and get him and get him neutered on our account." So he was in the vet's overnight. I picked him up the next morning and thinking, I'll take him home, to recover. And that's where he stayed.
He got home and he was home.
And his personality is like a dog. He follows you everywhere. In fact, last night I went for a walk, and I got round the corner, coming up towards the main road, and I heard this meow, and I turned round and he was there. So I had to walk all the way back to make sure that he didn't follow me towards the busy road. Yeah, he's crazy.
Oh, bless. That's an amazing story. So, finally, what challenges have you faced in entirety of this charity and the work you do, and in your personal life? Is it at that times you've thought, I want to give it all up, or it's getting me so upset, or it's really straining? So
wow, that's a big question. I think sometimes the biggest challenges are when you get involved with an animal that has been neglected or maybe mistreated in some way, and the kind of the knee-jerk reaction of the public is, take the pet off these people.
Yeah.
And we do work very closely with a lot of other agencies like the RSPCA, vets, councils, etc. And nothing is ever black and white.
That's true.
And sometimes the best thing to do is to offer support and to work with people to enable them to meet the needs of the pet.
That's
and
good.
Keep the pet. There are occasions when that isn't ever going to be possible. And sometimes people don't understand why you would leave a pet with somebody. And to be honest with you, it's not in our jurisdiction anyway to make those decisions. But we do. Everybody goes through tough patches sometimes.
That's true.
We've come across people that have been going through a hard time and been feeding the dog on nothing but pasta because they can't afford dog food. So we've supported them through that bad time. It's not to say that they're never going to come out of that bad patch. And that they're really bad owners and they should never own an animal again. That dog loves that person, and the person loves the dog. It's just a particular set of circumstances where they're not coping at that particular moment in time. So we can sometimes help out with things like that.
Oh, that's really
personally. I think a lot of people don't understand why I do this, and sometimes I don't understand it at all either, to be honest. I don't know. There's kind of like I have come across sort of resentment or jealousy or what, I don't know, but I'm not doing it to sort of make friends and influence people.
No.
I'm doing it because there's a need for it, and I find it quite fulfilling most of the time. It's the benefit to a lot of people and a lot of pets. And through the course of doing it, we've changed some procedures or strategies, particularly in this local area, which have been a benefit for all concerned, really, in like a few different areas. One that I'm thinking of off the top of my head is facilities for pets that had been kind of left home alone in circumstances where people have gone into hospital, have been sectioned under the Mental Health Act, or have been arrested. I've actually sort of instigated some measures that are now in place for those pets, either on a temporary basis when people sort of come out of hospital or whatever, rather than being passed from pillar to post with different services and nothing getting addressed for their pet. So immediately that's something that is facilitated now.
That's amazing. So your work is actually affecting policy in many ways and how things are viewed. And I actually really love what you said, that sometimes the public will be push, let's take these pets away. But just like human beings, when the whole, social services situation with children sometimes, it's, if our family is given that support, after assessment and all that, you'll just understand they were going through a rough patch, so you don't have to remove the children. Same thing with the animals as well. And I really like that, because life is about giving people second chances. It's about support, it's about community, it's about a helping hand. So like you said, the animal loves the owner and the owner loves them. It's the same thing. It's not like and I really love also that the work you've been doing has paved way for new new things to be created in place. Actually, I was thinking the other day about this pandemic, because I am sure a lot of people have been made homeless, and so they have their pets. What is happening with that? And I appreciate that, you know, your local authorities come up with facilities for people who, you know, all the different sections you mentioned. And I remember actually a few weeks ago, my work was intertwined with that sort of situation. One of my clients actually had just come from prison, and he didn't want to go into this accommodation because the kind of accommodation he was going to go into does not support pets. And it was such a difficult thing, and I could understand his frustration. Some of my colleagues in the sector could not understand why. You know, I mean, it's a dog, you know, you either give it up, it's about you and not the dog. And I was like, what is actually there for them who need for a situation like this? They have to go into prison, or like you say, they are being sectioned under the mental health, or things, you know, something has just happened in their life and they can't. And it's really good that you have something, you've created something in place. So well done to your local authority. I hope other local authorities in England will take it up. For those who've already set up, that's great. Wow, that's amazing. I really like that. So in the end, it comes out full circle. So as we wrap up, I guess what I would say, the reason I actually asked you, and I've known for as long as I've known you anyway, you've always had dogs and cats. So I know you really love animals very much. And I remember the first ever cockapoo I've ever seen was actually in your house. So I didn't even know that breed existed until you explained that to me. So that's good. That was a life-changing moment actually. And the reason why I created this series about the everyday woman and then some is because a lot of women do what you're doing. For you, you think it's your passion, your everyday life, but it's changing the lives of so many people. It's already creating a path for policy to be changed with local authorities. So there's a lot you do as women, of course as men too, but I started this series with women. I'll do for men. I've always told them that that actually is causing an impact. You might not be people, the celebrities we know, but actually you're a local hero in where you are, and you're moving and changing and impacting people's lives. So, and that's why I wanted to create this series. And I thought there's a lot of people in my life I know they're doing great things, and this is the place to talk about it. And also sometimes I don't know fully this backstory of why the friends or the people I know are doing what they're doing. So for me, I didn't know like what made you do the Homeward Bound thing. I only saw you doing it, but I didn't, know exactly. So, and that's why I want to celebrate the little everyday things that we're doing that are changing and impacting the lives of people. So thank you so much for sharing with us.
You're very welcome.
I hope people will be inspired to think differently, especially where animals are concerned.
Yeah.
So, as a parting shot, what would you like to see in the future in terms of the work you do?
In terms of animal welfare, although we're, up at the top of that field in this country, there are still lots of avenues to go down where we can improve on that. And I have been involved as well with companion animal breeding, and there are still a lot of ways forward that we can improve animal welfare in those fields.
Yeah.
And that's what I'd like to see, really.
Okay. Oh,
a bigger improvement in animal welfare.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, we do need that. We need a lot of policy also to change, and a lot of money actually to be put into this sector, because I think sometimes the will and the goodwill is there, but the resources sometimes limit the work that can be done. So
I think a lot of it as well is to do with sort of education of the public. Yeah. I mean, for my dissertation, I kind of did about breed-related health of dogs, and the results were quite astounding. It was from a mini presentation about breed-related health and the results after that presentation. So education is key in everything.
Very true.
Really.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. I agree. Thank you so much for coming on. It's been informative. I felt like I've learned so much. Thank you so much. And so, yeah, listeners, for those who are interested in this line of work, now you know what to do. Okay. So thank you so much, Wendy. I wish you well with your work, and hope you have a great Christmas and some time to rest. Yes. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.